don't know about you, but I'm feeling that tug on my heart. The Lord is calling me to slow down and trust him in a whole new way. And instead of fighting it, I'm going to do exactly what he's telling me to do. I'm gonna surrender. So let's embrace the surrender season. Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Melody and I make faith-based content here on YouTube. I post new videos every single Monday and Thursday. So if that is something you're interested in, definitely be sure and subscribe. I would love to have you join the family. So in today's video, we are going to be talking all about surrendering, okay? Surrendering things over to the Lord. And specifically, we're going to be diving into how, okay? How to surrender things back to God. And I say back to God because I feel like that puts our mindset in the correct framework of knowing that they were never ours. These things that we're trying to hold on to and do ourselves, they were never ours to begin with. We're going to be surrendering things back to the Lord. For me, this is a very timely video and it's something that I'm currently walking through. The Lord has given me the phrase surrender, and this is something that I'm going to be clinging on to for the next quarter. Like I mentioned in my 2023 planning video, the Lord and I have been doing a different thing this year. We started it last year, we're continuing to do it this year, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys in a video later this month how I keep my mind focused on the topic and the phrase that the Lord gives me, because we do change things up every quarter, so every 3 months. So I'm going to be showing you guys how I utilize Notion to really stay on topic and focused and accountable with the things that the Lord is doing in my life. But in this video, I wanted to start off with how to surrender things back to God and basically just surrender in general to the Lord and what he's wanting to do in our lives and through us. Now, when it comes to how to surrender, I feel like often we know what it feels like. We know that feeling of like fighting against the grain, fighting against the flow of a river, and then we know that feeling of letting go and letting the river kind of take us, and that difference. And that's really what surrender is. It is letting go. It is just like bowing down to the thing that the Lord is trying to do in our lives. And so likely you know what it feels like, but maybe you don't know exactly the steps that you can take on how to actively participate in that surrender. So that's what we're going to be diving into in this video. I have 4 steps for you, and these are going to be things that I currently am doing as well. And I'm excited to go on this journey with you because, again, I know I'm not the only one that the Lord is calling to a season of surrender. So we are going to go ahead and jump right into it. But first, I want to go ahead and thank the sponsor of today's video, Faithful Counseling. You guys know I am a tried and true therapy plus Jesus girly. I literally just had a therapy session, last week? And for me, therapy is just something that is a non-negotiable. I love being able to incorporate the Lord into my therapy sessions because my therapist is a Christian, and that's the beautiful thing about Faithful Counseling. They allow you to easily get paired with a Christian licensed mental health professional. I know for me, just on my healing journey in general, and especially in the ways that the Lord is currently growing me, it's been amazing to process that with a licensed professional who was like rooting for me and praying for me. So if you are on the fence about therapy, as always, let this be your sign. I have a link in the description box where you can go ahead and sign up with Faithful Counseling. They also offer financial aid, and you even can do individual therapy as well as couples therapy, which is amazing. Now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and hop into how to surrender. So step number 1 when it comes to surrender is we have to know, we have to accept, and we have to believe that God is working everything together for our good. Now, I was recently reading a book. It was called The Creative Counterpart. I'm gonna have that linked down below. And the author defined what that good is, and it has made all the difference for me. I feel like it's easy for us to read that verse in Romans. I'm gonna go ahead and pop it up here. We all know it. It says, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and who are called according to his purpose for them. It's so easy to read that phrase and to think that good equates to pleasant, that good equates to feeling good, that the good God is working together is going to be some positive feeling or emotion. And then when we go through something negative, we go through something trying, we go through a difficult situation, we are racking our brains trying to figure out, okay, like what on earth is the good that the Lord is doing here? And so the author writes what exactly that good is, and I'm going to share it with you guys. So the first good that the Lord is always doing in every situation is he is developing Christ-likeness in us. So we can rest assured whether the situation is amazing or whether the situation is trying, God is developing our character. He is creating us to be more Christ-like through the situations that he allows us to experience. So that is the first piece of good that God is always working together. And the second piece of good that God is always working together is he is developing the fruit of the Spirit within us. Now, the fruit of the Spirit, I want to do a whole dedicated video about the different fruits of the Spirit, and I'll go ahead and just pop them up right here for you. There's quite a few, as you can see, but along with the Christ-likeness that the Lord is developing within us, at all times, through every situation, he is also increasing the fruit of the Spirit in our lives and in our character. And so I feel like the faster that we, again, accept, believe, and hold this truth in our hearts, the easier it is going to be to allow us to release things back to the Lord and essentially let him drift us down that river instead of fighting him on that. So that is going to be step number 1. So number 2 on our list today, the second step in surrendering to the Lord and what he is wanting to do in our lives and in our minds and in our hearts is to identify, purify, and enrich our concept of God. Now, I know when I say that, you might be like, okay, sis, like what does that even mean? So basically, we need to take time to sit with the question of what do I think about God? What do I believe about God? Oftentimes, we can have experiences in life, even experiences with our earthly parents. There's just so many things that could impact how we view God. So this basically looks like sitting down and asking ourselves questions like, what do I think about God? What do I think God thinks about me? How do I view God? What are some adjectives that I would use to describe God? And then once we have identified how we view God, once we have identified our concept of God, we then want to purify it. We want to take it to the Lord and be like, God, this is what I think of you. And for me, when I did this, and this is something that I'm continuously doing, I'm realizing that while God is not a God that's far from me, sometimes I feel far from him. And so I write this down. I tell the Lord, God, sometimes I feel like you're neglectful. Sometimes I wonder if you're going to remember about me. And taking that to him, it allows him to purify my concept of him. And then the last step of that, so we have identifying our God concepts, purifying our concepts of God, and then we also want to spend time enriching our concept of God. And so this basically looks like spending time in the Word. The more time that we spend reading about the Lord and spending time in his presence, which is a great way to spend time in God's presence, is to read his Word, the more we're going to understand his character. The more we understand his true character, the less we'll see him through our inaccurate concepts of him. And so it's this process of identifying, purifying, and enriching that is really going to allow us to have this natural outpouring of surrender. I feel like the more that we have this correct understanding of who God is, the more our heart will naturally want to surrender to him, because we'll realize just how amazingly trustworthy he is. So I know that was a lot. I know that's probably a mouthful and like a very, different concept. I'm gonna have a book linked down for you in the description box. It's called The Sacred Slow, and it talks more about this and the importance of doing this and kind of walking you through it. So I will have that as an additional resource, but this is going to be step number 2 and one that is so incredibly important. So number 3 on our list, step number 3 to surrender, is very simple. And I feel like after number 2 is a little bit complicated, so it's good to have a simple one. Step 3 is to pray. And so prayer essentially is a conversation. You want to make sure that you are talking with the Lord, especially as you are uncovering perhaps some of your concepts of him, taking that to him. As you are realizing like, oh wow, it was easy for me to give this over to you, but this particular area of my life, I'm having trouble doing that. Bring that to the Lord. And if you're anything like me and you wake up and you just have a million things on your brain, I personally like to start all of my prayers after thanking the Lord for like waking me up and like reminding myself who he is and kind of like singing his praises in a prayer, I like to just take him everything that I am thinking and I ask him to give me his perspective. And I feel like that is my first step of surrender in the beginning of the day. Lord, take my thoughts, I give you my points of view, give me your point of view, give me your perspective on the situation, because this is what I think, this is what I feel about this, and this. And again, I wake up feeling lots of things about lots of different things. So just pray. So whatever it looks like, we just want to be in communication and in a relationship of prayer with the Lord. And as we communicate with the Lord, as we are praying, as we are growing our prayer muscle, we are going to be growing in intimacy with the Lord. And as we grow in intimacy, it's going to be easier for us to trust him. And part of surrender is trusting. And I feel like prayer really increases our ability to surrender at the end of the day. So that is going to be step number 3. Last but not least, step number 4 today, our 4th step to surrender is going to be obey. So as you can tell, it's going to be really important on this journey to ultimately obey what the Lord is calling us to do. That is going to be part of surrendering in general. And I feel like it's important to note, and especially have this as the last one, that obeying and like praying, definitely step 1, 2, and 3 kind of help us trust the Lord. And then number 4 kind of puts the bow on it. And this is ultimately what we are called to do as humans in relationship with Christ. We are called to trust and obey. So obeying is going to be that thing that really unlocks that heart posture. So for me, whenever I think about this concept of obeying, I always think about the parable of the sower. Specifically, it's going to be Luke 8, and it talks about the different soil that seeds were cast on. So 2 out of the 4 allowed that seed to take root, but only 1 multiplied. And so we want to be those people that multiply. We don't want to just hear the word, keep it in our heart, but never do anything with it. We want to be those people that obey and allow things to multiply in our lives. And that is what the step of obeying does. And so ultimately, these 4 things are going to lead to a surrendered lifestyle, and specifically just a surrendered heart on whatever season that the Lord has you in. And I know for myself, again, like I talked about multiple times throughout this video, and especially in the beginning, I know for me, it is surrender season, and I know I am not the only one. So that is going to be step number 4. All right, so that is going to be it for me. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. I want to go ahead and thank once again Faithful Counseling for sponsoring this video. Now, of course, it is your turn. So I've shared that this season that I'm in right now is definitely a surrender season. So let us know in the comments, what season of life are you in? Where is the Lord bringing you? What word has he given you? I would love to know how this year so far is unfolding for you and what type of season that he has you in. I'll go ahead and drop my response in the comments. So definitely take a second, drop yours, and scroll on through. As always, I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.